My name is Bulan Terry, and welcome back to AWS On Air live at Mars. If this is your first time joining us, we're happy that you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about an awesome program called ASDI with my good friend and co-host, Suman.
Thank you so much, Brian. Hello, everyone. My name is Suman Debnath. I'm a principal developer advocate focusing around data engineering and analytics.
All right, and we're joined here with two special guests from a wonderful program that I'm super excited to hear more about, and Salman's super excited to hear more about.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's introduce our guests.
Yeah.
Great. Hi, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to be here on this session. So my name is Ana Pinheiro-Privet, and I'm with the AWS Impact Computing team, and I'm the global lead to ASDI, or the Amazon Sustainability Data Initiative, which is a mouthful.
Quite a mouthful, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you'll hear a lot about data, but yes, and I'm also here with Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Stoner. I'm the environmental open data lead on the AWS Open Data team. We work with ASDI, providing the registry of open data on AWS, which we'll talk a lot about as well.
Yeah. Like I said, this is a really super exciting program. I actually kind of read about it a little bit, but for our audience, can you tell us exactly what it is? What is ASDI?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Okay, so before I actually explain what ASDI is, if you allow me, I would like to set a little bit the context for the problem that we're trying to solve. So I think it's no surprise for anybody that data is core to everything we're doing in sustainability, right? Think of tackling an issue like climate change. We need data to understand the baseline, right? It's like, what's the temperature of the planet? What's the carbon footprint of our organization? What are we doing? You know, how much deforestation? All of that requires data. And the challenge that most sustainability practitioners or users of data have now is that we have more data than ever, right?
Yeah.
We
Yes.
have more data being generated from satellites and models and IoT devices, but that's not necessarily translating into more insights to make decisions, right? So one of the big issues is actually, one, the data is too big. Most people cannot easily handle terabytes and petabytes of data.
Right.
And it's dispersed everywhere, right? So this seems like a great opportunity for the cloud to step in and play a role, right? So what ASDI is trying to do is to solve the data problem in sustainability. Okay, so in a nutshell, it's a tech for good program, and what it means is that Amazon and AWS is trying to understand how do we bring our scale, how do we bring our technology and our infrastructure to the broader community to help solve this big data problem. And so what the program really does is seeking to minimize the cost and the time it takes to get all these big data sets and then analyze them and extract information from it that is relevant to support decision making, policy, all of those important things.
Excellent.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that's a very important, right? What you mentioned is big data, and I've been working in data engineering, so we all understand, how difficult it is to, do any analysis or data engineering on the data because it comes with different formats and, from, different sources and all of that. So when we talk about sustainability or when we think about sustainability, it's a wide range, right? So starting from, as you mentioned, weather, climate, and so on. So how this program is going to help our customers, can you just touch base on that?
Yeah, so maybe I'll explain also a little bit about the program itself. It might make more sense how we are helping them. So we actually built this program around 3 core areas. The first one is the democratization of data, and it's exactly what we're talking about. Let's find what are those foundational data sets that most people need, and let's remove that effort that everybody is going through, right? So what we call undifferentiated heavy lifting.
Right.
Everybody has to find the data, has to acquire it, store it, clean it, and there's no knowledge being produced from that actual work, which has been actually quantified at about 80% of what it takes to generate new insights, right? So let's find those data sets, and then we engage with the data providers and say, okay, the community or the practitioners need your data. We would love to host it in the cloud. So we'll cover all the costs for hosting the data and any egress-related costs. They own the data. They continue to own the data in the cloud, but they have to commit to making it public and openly accessible to anybody in the world, right? So in that sense, we're bringing all this data, petabytes and petabytes of data into to the space and make it publicly available. Then the second way that we are helping the customers is by providing cloud credits. So that's the second component. You have all this data in the cloud, which is great. It's free. but people still have to analyze it, and there's a cost associated with that, right?
Right.
To offset that cost of analyzing the data or building solutions on top of it, we have a dedicated cloud grant program. Anybody can apply. When I say anybody, it's like literally anybody from any sector.
So I can apply. I can apply.
You can apply. You send an application. It's fairly simple, and if you qualify, we basically subsidize the work for 1 year. There's actually no limit. You can ask as much as you want, as long as you can justify, and we will evaluate. And so what that does is that if you want to analyze all this data and you don't want to take it out of the cloud, which is ideal, right? Because when you take the data out of the cloud, again, you're making another copy, you have to maintain it, you have to store it. So we really want to discourage that. But so we, this cloud grant will support that work in the cloud. And then the third component, which is equally important, is the recognition that honestly in sustainability, not everybody is fully comfortable with cloud. Or with ML, or with all this tooling that is really required to take these problems to another level, right? So a lot of that third component of the program is focused on promoting knowledge exchange. So how do we engage with the customers that really know what they're doing and encourage them to show the world, to write tutorials, to write blog posts, to provide webinars? So there's a lot of that going on as well.
Super interesting. So, my main question is, this is a wonderful program. This is awesome that it's free and people can get these grants and do research. Why is AWS doing this? Like, why is it free? Like, why do we have this program?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's a tech for good, and that's part of what you will say. We're trying to bring our resources to the world. But actually, the impetus for this program started because we are going through our own sustainability transformation, and we realize there's all this data that we even need for our own operations. Think about weather. Weather impacts everything we're doing, right? From Amazon's transportation to cooling of our data centers. So we need that kind of data. Is not easily accessible to companies even with the size that we have. So once we started identifying those data sets, we said, well, it makes sense that the rest of the world will need them as well, right? So let's start putting it out there and then start collecting requirements from other customers. And so we've been building the catalog in response to the needs of the community and the customers.
I think that's super exciting, and you rightly mentioned that this is crucial for environment, for our ecosystem, and I guess when we think about this ASDI, you touched based on the grants. That means we from Amazon, we are not only making sure that you have your data set accessible from various compute resources, but we are also giving an opportunity for our developers and customers to build something useful which can help our ecosystem, and we pay for them in the form of grants, and that mutually we all grow, as a company as well as a customer. So that's super, exciting. So I heard that there is an hackathon as well, which we have. Would you like to touch base on that? I think that is
so glad you brought
exciting.
it up. So actually really excited to be here at Remars because one, we have a fabulous booth downstairs. I guess I can brag a little bit. I think we have a fabulous booth. And it's as you get in, you will see it right away. It's the sustainability booth. And mostly we're trying to just bring awareness to this community of the amount of resources, especially data, that are available for any kind of applications. But we would love for people to put their effort and energy into sustainability issues because there's so much to do, right? And so we have that. We're also announcing the integration of a ASDI into the ADX catalog, the AWS data exchange, which is the marketplace. And the advantage of that is that now you have open data next to licensed data, right? And you can search it all in the same service, in the same platform, which hopefully will make life easier for customers. And then the third thing that is super exciting is the hackathon we are launching in partnership with UNESCO and basically encouraging anyone, again, to go and go use all this data. It's free and available in the cloud, and we ideally would love people to look at the Sustainable Development Goals and try to build some solutions. We have 100K in prizes, so very excited to see what comes out of that.
Wow, that sounds super exciting.
Yeah, and I see that the last date for this hackathon is 30th of August, 2022. So, after this session, you know which place to go on. It's aws-asdi.devpost.com. All right, so I think we have some demo which Chris is going to show us.
Yes.
And
Right.
We do. And so another thing that you can see at the booth is that we have been creating a lot of demos using SageMaker Studio Lab, which is a service that is free. And so that allows to use a free service on top of free data. And Chris is going to walk us through one of those demos just to
looked like-
exemplify.
Super excited.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
freebie show.
Yeah, so
Everything is free.
So we've been talking a lot about the catalog, the Registry of Open Data, and the ASDI data sets. And I want to show you what the catalog looks like. So the registry provides a way for folks to search and discover and find these data sets, and then you can create a derived product from there. Again, it's open to the public. These are all available at registry.opendata.aws collab/ASDI. You can go to that link and see everything I'm showing you here today. So I'm going to look at NextRad. This is a data set provided by NOAA, and we'll talk about ADX later. And kind of the key thing to see on this registry page is that not only do we provide the data, but we also provide a bunch of usage examples, tutorials, and applications to help folks get started. You may not be a weather expert, you may not know how to use NOAA data straight out of the box, and a lot of these tutorials can really help get you started. And there's a couple of things on the page I want you to notice right away. There's a CLI example. This is how to list the bucket, see the objects in the bucket and the bucket structure. But you can also explore right here in your browser. I'm going to show you
just
what.
to
Yeah, go ahead.
ask you one simple question is here, if you go back, this is the NOAA data, and what you mentioned earlier is this data is completely owned by them. We don't touch that data, right? So to
Exactly.
be very
Right.
clear.
Yeah, so in this case, actually, they have a broker on their behalf that moved the data to the cloud, so you won't see the NOAA logo, although it is
Right.
the NOAA data original. But yes, so that's something that we actually take very seriously, which
Yeah.
is we believe that to preserve the integrity of the data, the data provider owns it and Amazon doesn't touch it. We're just enabling by providing the platform and covering the
Right.
costs.
Got it.
That's
Every
right.
day.
The account is owned by NOAA, the data is owned by NOAA, and they update the objects in the bucket. So
Okay.
sort of the data steward would still be the data provider. And that's important if you're a researcher. You don't want data that's been touched by some other third party. But to
Excellent.
show you what's inside the bucket, you can browse the bucket. You can see that NOAA has prefixes, which are basically folders inside the bucket by year, then month, then day. In this case, there's a 4-character key. That's a ground station ID.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, NOAA is a constellation of satellites, geostationary, that send data down to a ground station. And then these zipped files are the NOAA data. So now that I've shown you what the data looks like in the registry and how you can browse and see what data is available, I want to show you how to use it. We talked a little bit about SageMaker Studio Lab, so I want to cover that briefly again. You don't need an AWS account to access SageMaker Studio Lab, and you actually don't need an AWS account to get to the data sets in the registry. If you notice this no sign request in the CLI, that means don't send credentials. So you don't need an AWS account to browse and even fetch data, and also you don't need it for SageMaker Studio Lab. You will need a SageMaker Studio Lab account, but that's really just to persist your data. That way you can kind of pick up where you left off.
Right.
So I'm running a CPU. You get 12 hours for free. I don't have to pay for this. It's basically a Jupyter notebook running for free SageMaker Studio Lab. You can get 4 hours of GPU. I chose a CPU in this case.
And just for our audience, if you're new to SageMaker Studio Lab, it's completely free. You just have to create an account, and for that also, you don't need any credit card or anything of that sort, right?
That's right.
So if you're a student or if you are doing some research in the university, I think this is the place to spin up an instance and experiment with the data.
Exactly, exactly. It's meant for tutorials, samples, just kind of trying out the data, trying to see what the environment is like, what the data's like, and how to use it. When you're ready to do something at scale, you probably want to graduate up to SageMaker Studio, but the lab is great for just trying things out.
And at
it's
that
great
point,
for samples.
I'm sorry to interrupt, you
Yeah,
can
go-
apply for a grant.
Oh, that's right.
Absolutely.
Apply for credits from ASDI to cover the cost for SageMaker Studio.
Yes.
So that's
for sure.
interesting. Do you see educational institutions applying for grants and using this too? Is that
For sure.
We do. We actually work, as I said, across all the sectors. So we have as much like tons of startups that build on top of the data because
Wow.
the cost of acquiring and storing the data is gone.
Yes.
And as much as we have like governments, NGOs, academia, all kinds across all the spectrum. Yeah.
Wow.
For sure. So now I'm going to show you how to grab a pre-built notebook. So we've built several of these notebooks. Again, if you come to our booth at Remars, you can come ask us about them and see them run. This one was actually created by a customer, and we just made it work in SageMaker Studio Lab. I'll provide all the links at the end so that you can go try this yourself. But the way to launch it in SageMaker Studio Lab is really to just click on the little purple link. I'm going to open it in a new window. And you'll see the README file from the GitHub repo showing here that I'm going to pull some data from NOAA Nexrad on S3. So you want to click Copy to Project, and that will launch the Jupyter server, and your Jupyter notebook will get pulled in. We'll clone the entire repo. And it's going to say the entire repo already exists. That's to save time. That would take quite a while for it to pull in all of that data. And you'll want to build the Conda environment. This pulls in all the libraries and installs the environment for you so you're ready to go. Again, I have it pre-built so we don't have to wait. And then we just launch the notebook.
So this is exactly same as how Jupyter Notebook would look like. So this is for audience who are new to SageMaker. It's just like you will get a feel of Jupyter Notebook, but it's all running on the cloud, and you have all the integration with Git and all of that, as we can see on the left-hand side in the browser. Yeah.
That's right.
Very cool.
So you save all the time for setting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just took 30 seconds to come to this page, right? So
Which is really fast.
Yeah.
But the Conda environment may have taken a little bit longer if it had to download all of those libraries. To advance and run each line, you really just want to click this button, or I think you can shift enter as well. But I want to show you a couple of things. So we installed everything in the Conda environment so we don't have to do anything here. However, we do want to use Boto3, and Boto3 is a really great library to pull data from S3. So you'll see I use that a lot in this notebook. So we'll grab a connection to S3, and then we're going to grab that NOAA Nexrad Level 2 data that I showed you just a second ago. Again, I explained earlier that NOAA has prefixes in the bucket of year, month, day, and the ground station ID. So you'll see we can go grab data from a very specific date, knowing those keys, 2011, I think this is May 20th, and a very particular ground station ID. We want to grab some data there.
I think at this point, I would like to make one comment is,
Sure.
This seems very simple because one of the reasons is the data is already there, in our repository. Because
right.
From machine learning or data engineering standpoint, just to come to this step, where you have the data partitioned in year, day, month, and all of that, and to run any query, this itself takes a lot of weeks and even months.
That's right.
But now we have all the data, on the cloud, and it's partitioned nicely. All we have to do is we just have to give the bucket name and get started by analyzing or sending queries, as we are going
That's
to do
right.
next. Yeah.
That's
okay.
right.
Super
You don't have
exciting.
to brute force copy data from some, on-prem data center over the wire, wait for it all to be downloaded before you can start your research. All that heavy lifting has been abstracted away. Everything's in S3, and you can even subset the data and just pull the pieces of data or the objects that are important to you to do your research. In this case, I grabbed some very specific files, really just to show a weather pattern. This is a little bit of precipitation. A slightly more interesting one, which might take a minute to run, I'm going to grab some data from back in 2016, October 6th. This is Hurricane Matthew, which was a very large hurricane in the US, and I'm going to show that in a second. But again, this is grabbing only the files that I need from S3, so it's all AWS. So you're pulling from S3 into another AWS service, SageMaker Studio Lab, to do this really awesome visualization.
And this is all live data. I mean, this is all real data. It's not fabricated data set that we have created, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I would say, if you allow me to mention something, is that I think one of the important things to specify is that this data set is now next to satellite data, to climate projections,
right.
to air quality, we have data all over in the space of sustainability. And I think that's where we're going to start extracting insights that we have not seen before.
Yeah.
Because we have all this data in the same location, and tools like this allow you to go across and actually start to extract knowledge we haven't been able to do in the past. So I'm really excited about that possibility.
And we've seen customers create fusion products. For example, optical data can't see through clouds, but synthetic aperture radar can. So Sentinel-2, maybe won't get a great image on one day, but you can backfill with Sentinel-1. And we have Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-1 data in the Open Data Program and in ASDI, so you can pull those data sets, fuse them together, and have a really complete image for that particular day. So there's one more thing I wanted to show you. Once you're done, really, you can save your state. I can leave all this as is. It will pause my SageMaker Studio Lab instance and leave it in this state. And then I can come back whenever I'm ready and pick up where I left off. One more thing I think we wanted to show, though, is the ASDI integration with Amazon Data Exchange. So now ASDI datasets will also show up in the Data Exchange part of AWS Marketplace. Anna, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yep, sure. I guess this is something we are announcing today, and so it's this is the first iteration of it. There's a lot of plans we have to make this more user-friendly and build more search capabilities, but super excited about this ability for people to find all the data in one place. So
this is breaking news. This is exciting. You're
right?
Marketplace in this. Wow.
So we don't have to go to multiple places, right? So now we can get here and search for that.
There's a lot of work you can do with open data, but there's certain applications that you need to have some of the licensed data, right? And in the past, that required you knowing where things are, go find them and bring them in, and this hopefully will make just life much easier for people. So
Excellent.
And I wanted to show you really quick. It looks basically the same. We're really just showing those data sets from that are on the registry of open data also in Data Exchange. So it's just an additive process. So we still have the resources on AWS. You can still browse the bucket. This is, again, the NOAA Next-RAD data. We'll have all of those tools and examples that we showed earlier. So really just additive allows you to, if you wanted to combine some free and open with some paid or licensed data, it's easier to source them. It's easier to search and discover them when they're all in one place, as Anna mentioned, and easier for you to create a nice fusion product out of several data sets without having to search from multiple places.
I think one of the best thing about this is we have the data in central place, and you've shown us through SageMaker Studio Lab, but we can access the data from let's say EC2 instance or EMR cluster and run some PySpark job, or maybe a Lambda function, right? So we don't have to move data, and data movement is very, very, it's not at all trivial, so it's very complex, especially here where we are talking about petabyte scale data, right? So
that's right.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we can mention, that we actually have in the entire catalog of open data over 100 petabytes of data, which is a substantial amount of data, and it's all been driven by what customers are asking for, and we'll continue to do that. So this is a dynamic catalog that keeps growing in response to the needs. So if you guys have any desires, let us know.
Well, that's super interesting to say that. So.
It is. It's quite a data.
So what, if I had a huge data set that I wanted to provide to the world, so I was tracking squirrels or something, how can I submit this data to ASDI?
Yes, so we work, as Chris mentioned, we work with the Open Data Sponsorship Program, or the Open Data Program. So there's a dedicated link. You can go to the web if you look for Open Data Sponsorship Program, AWS. There will be a form. You submit that form, and you basically answer a few questions. And there's things we look for. Obviously, we don't just invest in storing hundreds of petabytes of any data.
Data. That's right. I don't empty your garage.
Some of the things is this data set of value to the broader community,
Right.
and not just for you to do some work in your backyard, right? Kind of thing. And then do you show that you have a commitment to actually maintain it? Because you will own the data. You will own the data, and you'll maintain it. You just need to commit to basically make it public, and it will cover all the costs. So those are the two key things. And then there's other things we are trying to encourage people as well, and there's a big push we are working on is optimization of the data.
Yeah.
So a big thing is discoverability, right? We need to know what data we need.
Yeah.
Then hosted is we are already removing a lot of the load. But the next one, if we really want people to continue to work in the cloud, and there's a lot of benefits of that, we need to optimize the data sets, right?
Yeah.
We need to make them more easily integrated with the cloud environment. And not all data sets come to
Yeah.
the cloud in that way because, for instance, federal agencies that are creating data, they are primarily focused on the stewardship, right? Archiving the data, not necessarily having it usable in a cloud environment. So anyway, we encourage data providers also to look into that as much as possible, bring the data optimized, we'll help you, let's help build capacity, yeah. So
And that cloud optimizing, it's really helping your researcher, right? Because then they can subset, even within a specific object within the bucket or a specific file, they can subset down even from within that file and take only, I don't want the entire, state of Nevada, I just want Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I can pull just that data out and run my research on that. So, so there's really good reasons to have cloud optimization as a, a key task for our when we work with customers, but sometimes they need some help, and we're here to help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So could I put a big plug for people that are at Remars to come and visit us
Absolutely.
at our booth?
Yes.
Because in addition to
Damn.
all of this, and we have 5 more demos and other examples of how to use the ASDI data, we also have these amazing videos and customer stories of how customers are using ASDI data to actually build very innovative and impressive solutions for sustainability. Anything from shark tagging by OSearch, which is a fabulous story, to Digital Earth Africa, where they're bringing for the first time Earth observation data to the African continent, to governments and communities to make decisions about tackle illegal mining and deforestation and things that before they didn't have access to that information, right? So it's really amazing when you put data in the hands of people that didn't have it before, how much empowered they are to make decisions. And that's honestly the fun part of this job, is to see that impact.
It's there in we can go and experience that.
Yes,
That's right.
downstairs.
So Brian,
in the,
we know where to go after the show.
Oh yes, hackathon
I'll be
time.
expecting you there.
Hackathon time.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, this is an exciting talk. This is an exciting feature from AWS. Again, you can go down and see them in the booth, and you can talk to them personally about this and join the hackathon and learn more about this. I mean, I'm super excited. How about you? You can
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, and if anybody wants to learn more, please visit our webpage, Amazon SDI, like Amazon Sustainability Data Initiative.com, and we'll have all those details there. And yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and everybody for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
So my name is Bulan Terry, and this is AWS On Live, and this was exciting. So get down to the booth as fast as you can to meet with these 2 wonderful people and talk about this program. I know I will. And I'm Bulan Terry, and I am signing out.
Yep.
What are you? You signing out?
Bye.
All right. Well, bye for now.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
folks.